Yes, in this video, we're taking a look at 7 of the rarest Jaguar concept cars ever made. And I'm willing to bet there's at least one you've never heard of. Let's jump right into it. In the early 50s, everyone wanted their car to look like it could break the sound barrier, even if it was just going to the bakery. Enter the Jaguar XK180 Supersonic, a machine that looked like a jet and definitely didn't come with a budget price tag. The styling came from Giovanni Savanuzzi at Ghia, originally built for a Conrero-tuned Alfa Romeo 1900 that ran in the 1953 Mille Miglia. The design was so refined it ended up getting used on a few Fiat 8Vs, and one Aston Martin. This particular Jaguar started life as a left-hand drive coupe. Just to clarify, only 3 XK120s were ever turned into Supersonics, and this is one of them. This car had a head tuned by Virgilio Conrero, with triple Weber carbs pushing out about 220 horsepower, quite a jump from the usual setup. It even hit the show circuit in 1954, appearing in both Paris and London, and later showed up at Concours events in Switzerland and across France again, right next to the other 2 examples. Then things got awkward. Malpelli, the original buyer, never paid for either of his Supersonics, so the dealer repossessed them. This one stayed put until 1969, eventually making its way through a line of serious collectors. And in 2015, it sold for over $2 million. Not bad for something that started out as an unpaid bill. When Ferruccio Tarquini, the Jaguar importer for northern Italy, wanted something a little more tailored than what Coventry was offering, he called up Bertoni and asked for a custom 4-seater coupe. And like that, the Jaguar FT Coupe was born. The name? Just his initials. Modest guy. The first one was built for the 1966 Geneva Motor Show, based on the Jaguar S-Type. The second and final car used a Jaguar 420 platform shipped over as a CKD kit, basically a car in pieces ready to be reassembled in Italy, with Bertoni's sharp-edged bodywork wrapped around it. That second car ended up with a Spanish aristocrat, then it vanished into storage at a Jaguar dealership for about 20 years, like a very stylish time capsule. When it finally re-emerged, it was restored in its original metallic green paint and it still had its black leather interior, electric windows, FT-branded horn push, and even air conditioning. Luxuries that made sense when your target customer might own a castle. And back in 2015, it sold for what would be about $120,000 in today's money. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of July. It just takes a click, but it really helps a lot. Thanks. Some cars are made by committees. This one was made by a newsroom. In 1967, the staff at the Daily Telegraph decided to cook up their version of the perfect car. Not a fantasy spaceship with gull wings and lasers, just something a successful Londoner could drive to a black tie event without wrinkling his suit or his ego. They weren't aiming for affordable, but it had to be at least theoretically buyable, so they pulled parts from the shelves of real-world manufacturers. For everything else, they called in a favor from Nuccio Bertoni. Jaguar provided the mechanicals, a 4.2-liter straight 6, the E-Type chassis, and a willingness to hand over a frame to a bunch of journalists with big ideas. Dunlop Racing Wheels gave it extra attitude, and the end result was named the Pirana. No H at the end, just a styling choice. Marcello Gandini, who would later design the Lamborghini Countach, handled the bodywork. His mission? Make it look like speed without trying too hard. The result was a long hood, wide stance, sloped tail, and a presence that could silence an entire motor show, which it did, first at Earl's Court, then in Turin, Montreal, and New York. The cabin was peak British gadgetry. The dashboard had a cassette deck, which doubled as a dictation machine. The air conditioning blew through the ceiling like you were in first class, and the seats were covered in perforated Connolly leather because apparently they weren't messing around. The whole thing was insured for £20,000, which was triple what you needed for a brand new Ferrari back then. After its moment in the spotlight, the Pirana vanished into private hands and stayed out of sight until 2011. When it reappeared, it got a full restoration to look exactly like it did back in '67. Cassette player, silver paint, and everything. Only one was ever made, and if you're wondering what it's doing parked between a couple of Lamborghinis in the history books, it's because this one-off Jaguar helped inspire the Espada, and it sold in 2019 for $324,000. The Jaguar Ascot looked like it came from a future where everything was angular, suede was a lifestyle, and phones were still wired into dashboards. Built on a shortened Jaguar XJ platform, it was Bertoni's vision of what a V12 Grand Tourer should look like in the disco decade. Unveiled at the 1977 Geneva Motor Show, the Ascot embraced the angular style that defined much of the decade. Its shape echoed the bold lines of the Ferrari-based 308 GT Rainbow, the Alfa Carabo, and the Lancia Stratos Zero, making it yet another example in this video shaped by the sharp-edged vision of Marcello Gandini. It even had some Countach attitude baked in. But believe it or not, under all those hard lines was Jaguar's smooth 5.3-liter V12, an automatic transmission, and the bones of an XJS, though you'd never guess that just by looking. It had a body made of aluminum to keep it lighter than the standard XJS. The grille ran edge to edge with a Jaguar crest right in the middle, and the hood featured a raised H shape to suggest the V12 hiding underneath. Plus a pair of pop-up headlights because the 70s wouldn't be complete without them. Out back, the rear arches were carved out in full Gandini fashion, and the pillars wore contrasting colors just to make sure nobody missed them. At first, it was painted white for the show, but later it was resprayed, probably after realizing suede and white paint don't mix. Speaking of suede, the interior was covered in it. Light brown leather and brown suede everywhere, including the door panels, which came with their own compartments. The gear selector and gauges were borrowed from the XJS, but the rectangular dashboard was one of a kind, topped off with the ultimate 70s status symbol, a built-in telephone. Yes, that was once considered cutting edge. Replacing the E-Type was always going to be a thankless job, and the XJS didn't exactly win people over when it landed in 1975. So in 1978, Pininfarina took a shot at showing Jaguar how it could have been done. Using an XJS development mule, the Italian design team, led by Fioravanti, Pininfarina, and Carli, reshaped it with curvier lines, an oval grille, a huge trunk, and just enough Corvette energy to make it look ready for the American market. It rode lower, wider, and shorter than the XJS, packed a 5.3-liter V12 with 284 horsepower, and came with a soft top and pop-up headlights. It debuted at the 1978 British Motor Show to a warm reception, and even pushed Jaguar to explore their own spin with the XJ41 and XJ42 prototypes. The production version, meant to be called the F-Type, never made it, thanks to Ford pulling the plug in the 80s. But parts of the project later helped shape the Aston Martin DB7, so no, the XJ Spider never hit showrooms, but it came surprisingly close to being the E-Type sequel fans were hoping for. Jaguar clung tightly to its classic XJ shape for over 2 decades, but by 1990, that familiar design was starting to weigh the brand down rather than lift it up. The Kensington concept, created by Ital Design under Giorgetto Giugiaro, was meant to break free from tradition and offer a fresh, modern vision for Jaguar's flagship sedan. Giugiaro's team replaced the XJ's iconic quad headlights with a simpler slot-like grille. The rear deck was significantly shortened and smoothed out, with the bumper streamlined and the fenders brought closer together. The roofline sloped gracefully from front to back, while oval-shaped glass replaced the brand's usual boxy windows. Overall, the Kensington was all about soft, flowing ovals rather than sharp angles, though it still kept a strong sense of purpose with its muscular hood and sturdy flanks. The cabin was wrapped in teal leather and featured organic shapes that forecasted the rounded, blobby style that would soon dominate 90s interiors. The concept was built on the XJ12 floor pan and was planned to run with Jaguar's V12 engine, although the powertrain wasn't ready in time for the car's Geneva Motor Show debut. Jaguar executives weren't impressed with the Kensington's bold new look, feeling it strayed too far from the brand's traditional elegance. When Ford took control of Jaguar, the company favored a more cautious evolution of its designs, sticking with the classic XJ silhouette for years to come. Despite its rejection by Jaguar, the Kensington concept found new life as the design foundation for the Daewoo Leganza, a midsize sedan aimed at making an impression in the late 90s European market. It just goes to show, even when a bold idea isn't a fit for one brand, it might be perfect for another. Jaguar's history reads like a greatest hits album of British sports cars, from the world-beating XK180 to the cop and robber favorite Mark II and the racing legend D-Type. So, in the late 90s, Jaguar decided to show off its roots and what its designers could really do with a special concept car, the XK180. Built secretly by Jaguar's Special Vehicle Operations team, the XK180 wasn't just a pretty face slapped on an XKR. They stripped down a standard XKR chassis, chopped 5 inches off it, and boosted the supercharged 4.0-liter V8 to 450 horsepower. That's 80 more than stock. Instead of a manual gearbox, it had a 5-speed semi-automatic with controls on the steering wheel, letting you shift gears without taking your hands off the wheel. The suspension got tougher, the brakes upgraded to Brembo 4-piston calipers, and the ride wrapped in low-profile Pirellis. No show pony here. Styling took inspiration from Jaguar legends like the D-Type and E-Type, with curvy lines, a wraparound windshield, traditional round headlights, and a grille that shouted "Classic Jaguar." The body was aluminum, finished in a special British racing green-inspired shade. Impressively, the whole thing came together in just 10 months. The XK180 never hit production, but it paved the way for Jaguar's 2000 F-Type concept, smaller, sportier, and aimed at taking on the likes of the Porsche Boxster. Though the F-Type concept was well-liked, Jaguar focused on luxury sedans under Ford's watch. It wasn't until 2013 that the production F-Type finally arrived, taking the fight to BMW and Porsche with a range of turbocharged and supercharged engines. The information in this video was gathered from the sources shown on screen. You can find the sources in the Google Doc linked in the description. I recommend checking them out for more details. Now that we've gone through some of Jaguar's rarest concept cars, I've got a question for you. Do you think Jaguar's big electric push with the Type 00 will finally turn things around? Or could it actually drive the brand into bankruptcy? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.